and share the screen. Maybe. I just wanted to show you this. This is a couple of the unit price problems in WebAssign. I thought that would be an easy way to show that to you, because then I'm going to show you something else in WebAssign about how to enter the answers for on the number lines for the inequalities. So unit price is price per unit. So price per pound or per ounce, or it could be dollars per hour, like it's always per single unit. Miles per gallon is another one where it's a unit you're talking about. So we want to know how much does it cost just for 1 ounce for the first one. So a 10-ounce box of cereal for $3. So we put the cost on, always goes on the top, and 10 ounces on the bottom, and then reduce that. So we would divide $3 divided by 10. That's all. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. So 3.00 divided by 10 is going to be, and they're asking for it in dollars. So it's going to be 0.3, and you would put another 0 because it's cent, because it's, 2 decimal places, because we're talking about money. So this wouldn't be wrong, but we'd never see it that way. So it'd be like that with, if the dollar sign is in front, that's all we need. We don't need a C for cents or anything like that. So they've already got the label on there. So that's that one. Then there's also using unit price to tell which is the better buy. So this is assuming they're both the same quality, or like my mom always had her favorites. So even if it was cheaper, she wouldn't want to buy a certain kind of chocolate, for example. But anyway, in this situation, we want to compare the unit prices. So I just went down a little bit here. And then I wanted to just show this one because it shows the steps. Speaking of which, this is part of the assignment. And how did oh, maybe it's because I'm the teacher. I wonder. I'll have to look at it as a student and see if it's showing the answers. That would be funny. Sometimes that happens. So what we do is we put the price on top divided by the units. So the first one they did 1.92 divided by 16. And the second one's 2.24 divided by 18. And then they went to 3 places after the decimal just because if they had stopped at the 0.12, they would look like they were the same, but they're not. So this one is, the second one, B, is ever so slightly more expensive per ounce. So we want the better deal, the lower unit price. So the answer would be A. The lower unit price is the 16-ounce bag. So that's how to handle those. And like I said, I didn't talk about it yesterday because we'd already done a lot with the percents and everything. And this is a little bit of an old-fashioned skill. So if you know some elders who used to shop before the stores told the unit price, or if you're at a convenience store where they don't tell it, same thing. And so this one here, number 24, we would set that one up the same. So we would take I won't tell you the answer to this one, but just the setup would be 3.58 divided by 11 versus 1.69 divided by 10. And you're looking for the smaller number. And of course, it'll give the whole tutorial here when you get to that on the assignment, if you didn't do that yet. Does anyone have a question about unit price? We could maybe practice another on the whiteboard too when I'm done showing the inequalities. That would be fine. All right, moving along down this assignment because this is people, if it's x is less than or equal to 2, usually before college, people used the dot, and I've got to move it. So I just wanted to show you how to do that. Like that. That should be right on it. Sometimes if your WebAssign ever glitches up on you and makes you frustrated, just take a screenshot or write it on paper and send that to me, because sometimes it's a real pain in the neck, these are. And so that would be less than that is to the left of. And I can show these too on the, whoops, let's get that bigger. On the whiteboard, but I wanted you to see how, yes, it is a little bit of a pain there. So you see how I did that? I used the selector. I clicked on the line, and then I started kind of like mouse over, click and press on the mouse to get that side shaded. So that means x is less than or equal to 2, and x is everything to the left of. So less than and left of are easy to remember. Now you might have used this symbol instead of that closed circle. Both are correct. So we're moving towards this bracket facing to the left. If we had put that instead, onto the 2, that would be correct as well. So we're moving, as you get more advanced in math, if you keep taking math, it'll turn into just that, and we won't be using the open and closed circle anymore. Remember, it's a closed circle or a square bracket when there's that bar underneath the or equal to. And I just said remember as if you remember, even if you did it like years and years ago or never. So you might not remember. That's okay. We'll practice more of these. But I wanted to show a couple of these just so you could see how WebAssign can be a little bit of a pain, but I still do have a few problems in here with these. So now this one says x is greater than 1.5. So greater than would be either the open circle, so there's no or equal to underneath our arrow, or this parentheses, because we're going to shade to the right, everything greater than bigger than 1.5. So it could do either one of those. I'll do the parentheses here. Fine, here's where 1 is. Here's one that would it'll probably mark me wrong if I did this one. Let's see. So like I said, if it happens to you, even once or twice that it's glitching on you, just stop and write it on paper and send it to me. So, but if it's like old graphing technology that WebAssign still uses. So it would be nice if they'd update, like Google has better, Desmos has better. So it'd be nice if they would update a little bit, but Pearson isn't the greatest either. Both of these are a little bit clunky. So that would be all the numbers greater than 1.5, because I could see here's 0, here's 1, here's 2, here's where 1.5 would be, and shade to the right. Let's do one. Oh, here's one I could do with the circles. So remember, either way, if you prefer the circles, go for it. If you'd rather learn about the brackets and get into that mode, sure, that's fine. That's what you'll be doing in like college algebra and calculus. You'll use those brackets if you take those classes. But anyway, x is between -1 and 3. I always translate it into words in my own head. There's no bar by the -1, so that's going to be the open circle. at -1. There. And then x is less than or equal to 3. So we use the closed circle at 3. And see, I'm not that coordinated and I struggle a little bit to get it right on the point. And then I want a line shaded between them. There. So that shaded part means all the numbers between -1 and 3 and including 3. So x could be any of those. X could be 0, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.99, 3, etc. So that's how to use those tools. We get to some more fancy ones that need, let's see if my screen goes, that needs a little bit of algebra work, and that's what I'll show on the, we could do a pretty simple one though. How about that one? I'll show on the whiteboard the steps to do these with the algebra. So, but here's one that we could probably do without writing it down. X plus 8 is less than or equal to 10. So if we want to get x alone, it's going to be x is less than or equal to, so we got to find it up here. Let's see, where is it? Operations. There it is. Less than or equal to 10 minus 8 is 2. So that's that. Using that, if you could see it on my screen, it's on the top right. You have a little toolbar there with math symbols and things like that, even like up to trig and Greek letters and functions, all kinds of stuff to use. So x is less than or equal to 2. So now I'll use the square bracket this time. +2. And I want to shade to the left of it. And that would be the answer for that one. So that's how we solve an inequality. They don't have just one answer. They have like a whole region. Oh, okay. Somebody sent me a message. Just a second. I've had students that get super frustrated with this. So just don't let that happen. When we get to the graphing assignment also this weekend, it's kind of similar, same thing. You can just send me your work on paper. Even if it just glitches once or twice, that's a pain. I mean, technology can really give us a headache and we don't need that. Let me write this down right here. 32. Okay. All right, now we are going to look at, I'm going to go through the PowerPoint for section 3.6. Oh yeah, Tommy, of course. Yep. I'll go through the PowerPoint and then we'll do some on the whiteboard for sure before we do the quiz. Then if anyone, like when I get the whiteboard out, if anyone has homework questions that I didn't cover yet, we'll definitely do that before the quiz. I'm just pulling up our PowerPoint real quick. I guess I didn't need to log all the way into Moodle for this, did I? Oh, well. 3.6. I'm gonna make it a little bigger, but I'm not putting it into presentation mode because I could click through it faster this way. Not like that I'm gonna rush through. Don't worry. Let's get that a little bigger again. All right, so section 3.6 is linear inequalities. They're called so just because there's no equal sign, there's just that arrow with the big side pointing to the bigger number. The small side of the arrow is pointing to the smaller number. So we don't really do much applications in these. We just do part 1 and 2, sketch the graphs and solve linear inequalities. And so we were just talking about intervals on the number line. So we'll go through that. It's a pretty quick lesson. It's, well, like I said, we'll practice on the whiteboard also. You solve an inequality by finding all the values of x that make it true. So those are called solutions, and they satisfy the equation. And we call it a solution set. This is showing the differences. They're not showing the open and closed circle, but the WebAssign lets you choose. So it's fine either way. So just with the square bracket, if it's or equal to, or the curved parentheses, if it's not or equal to. So those are called closed and open. Closed just includes the, oops, come back. Sorry. Closed just includes that, the endpoints, and open does not. There, I was just trying to get it come up. Oh well, you get the idea. Just you can watch this yourselves too. It's on the Moodle anytime. So the length of an interval is 2 units. We're not going to do the length of an interval, but you just count the spaces between the endpoints. Here, we don't really do too much of this either with the infinities, but we will in college algebra we do. There, so now here we are. This is something that we need. Graph an inequality. So for the first one, -3 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 1. So we'd call that a bounded interval because it's or equal to 1. And then it's open at the -3 side. So that's the curved bracket. And it's closed at the +1 side and then shaded in between. So that's sort of like the ones I was just showing, something like that. Here's the next one in that list of 4 problems from the last screen. If we wanted to show 0, so they'll say this, graph it on the number line or plot it on the number line. So this really means x is between 0 and 2, not including the endpoints. So those, like I said before, those curved parentheses like that are instead of the old open circle that you might have done in a different school or different times. So they pushing us to do the brackets more, but it means the same as the open circle, that 0 and 2 are not included, but everything up to them is included. Like 1.999999 would be part of the interval, but not 2, for example. And then let's see, I'll make this a little smaller so we could see this. Oh, no, that's really cute. The graph of -3 is less than x. So it's, for me, I don't know. It's harder for me to see it that way. I'm looking at C. Like you can turn it around and say x is everything greater than -3. Just the big side of the arrow is open to the x. So that means x is greater than -3 or -3 is less than x. So either one of those would be correct to say, and that's how we would graph that one. X is everything bigger than -3. There, and I can make it a little bigger. Sorry, if you're looking at this on a phone, it'd be itty bitty, huh? There, so here's x is less than or equal to 2. So it's called unbounded because it just keeps going to the left forever. So it goes on and on and on. So there's no, it's not like locked up on both sides. But I don't really care if you label them, call them unbounded, open, closed, bounded, stuff like that. Just be able to put them on the number line in the right spot is the idea. And to solve the algebra, which we're about to do. Any questions about these graphing ones? I'll keep going. Now we can solve them using algebra. And we don't get too deep into these either. You'll see what I mean. I won't do the entire PowerPoint, but they have properties just like equations. You could add to both sides, subtract to both sides, multiply and divide on both sides. The only difference is if you multiply and divide by a negative, the arrow flips around. So at the I'll just show an example of that. So these are this is just with positives. We didn't show the negatives. Here we go. So number 3, if you multiply or divide by a negative, the arrow turns around. So here it was as here it was A is less than B. But if we multiply that by a negative C, that arrow is going to turn the other way. Now, anyone who's even slightly dyslexic, like even when they're just tired, struggles with this a little bit. So that's why I say it in words as much as I can. If you're like me, when I'm tired, I mix up the signs myself, the arrows. So I'd say it out loud to myself, or I write it down in words, or I make an abbreviated word for it or something. So it's easier. Because see what I mean? If you're here, it is again, A is less than B, divided by a negative, the arrow turned to the other way. So that is the one weirdest, very strange thing about inequalities that's different from equations, that happens. And I can explain why, of course. I'm going to turn off my spotlight, go back to this. I can explain why on the tablet. The transitive property is not too much of a concern. This is just how to solve x plus 6 is less than 9. We take away 6 from both sides. The arrow stays pointing the same way because we didn't multiply or divide by a negative. And then plot that on the number line. We don't, also another thing that's not required in Math 103 is we don't do that yet. So I hope I don't have any in the assignment. I'll look through it one more time, because if we have that in there, you don't need that yet. So, but if somebody already did the assignment and had to deal with that, it'll just be extra credit one. So that's the solution set. A compound inequality, I think that's a little more advanced than we get. But oh, here we do these though. This is a double inequality. We're not going to do the ones that say or and. So no words involved. But this is one of my favorite kinds. We usually maybe have one on the final like this at the most in this class. So we want to get x alone. So first we look in here, we want to add 2 to get that zeroed out. So we add 2 over here and here. Simplify. Then we want to divide 5 to get x alone. So we have to do it on the right and the left. That's a pretty cool one. These ones are sort of fun. -1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 2. Then we can put that on the number line. X is going to be between -1 and 2, and including the -1. So it looked like that. Or if you're using the circles, it would be closed circle on the left and open circle on the right. Anybody have questions about that so far? All right, I'm gonna log on with my tablet so we can practice some before the break and then the quiz. If anyone has other questions from your assignments, this is a good time too. I'll just go log on with it real quick. Oh, I can turn this off here. Alrighty, so let's do some practice slash examples together. And like I said, we kind of steer clear of the compound ones that say and or the ones that have a story problem involved. We later on in college algebra, it comes up again with more complicated stuff. But right now, we mainly really just want to calculate them, get used to the feel of that. So we'll start with a couple that aren't too wild. And I'm not going to show, well, I'll show how to plot the answers, of course, but I'm not, there is like the whole first 2 pages are showing your answers. Let's say 3x minus 5 equals 29. Oh, not equals to, where's my arrow? This way is less than. So again, it's pointing to the left. And where's that's less than. So we want to get x alone. So I'd add 5 to both sides. So this isn't a double inequality. We're back to just a straight 2-step. Oh, I made it a little weird. Oh, well, but that's okay. 29 plus 5 is 34. I'm glad I did that actually, because you could see dividing by a positive, the arrow doesn't change directions. And so the answer is x is less than 11 1/3, isn't it? Let's see, 3 into 34 is 11, remainder 1. So that, I don't have any like that on WebAssign because it's so hard to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's so hard to get that bracket in the perfectly right place. So 11 1/3 would be right around there. And then we'd shade to the left. So that would be the graph of the solution. But the only fractions I put on WebAssign are like a half at the most, because it's just, it really glitches up. It's annoying. So I got that 11 1/3. Does anyone have a question about that one? Let's do another one. X plus 7 is greater than or equal to 9. So again, like I was saying, I put it in words in my head. Or equal to. Greater than just means bigger. Everything bigger than or equal to 9. But we don't graph it yet. So that's the thing. We don't set it on the number line yet. We want to get X alone on one side. It could be on either side. Subtract 7. So X is greater than or equal to 2. And then get it onto our number line. And like I was saying, I always double check, is it -2 or +2? Make sure I got it. So if you're using the closed circle and everything bigger than that, it would look like that. If you're into the bracket, you don't use both, one or the other. The bracket always points towards the shaded area. And those words that we had in the PowerPoint, that's unbounded to the right because it goes on forever to the right. So it's bounded on the left, unbounded on the right, but I don't test on that. So it's not a closed interval because it's going on and on in one direction. Closed would be like this. That's closed on both sides. It's all good, right? Or bounded, I mean, that's a bounded on both sides. Let's do one that has 2 steps again. Trying to get these out of the book that are good ones. Then we'll do a couple with fractions as requested. How about 3x? Oh yeah, this one's really nice. This has 3 steps. Greater than or equal? No, just greater than x negative x plus 10. Okay, now I would be like, oh, I've got a negative x there. Negatives might mess up my arrow. I have to point the other way. I'm paying attention. So we'll need to pause it. Let me pause it, see if anyone wants to solve that one for a sec here. While you're doing that, I just realized that I had the recording off for a few minutes. So I'm going backing up to, this is where I paused it. And then we did this. And now we're here. Then we'll finish strong with some fraction problems. Is anyone having a question or anything while you're working? All right, good job. The people who sent answers, remember, you still get the 2 points, even if you're right or wrong. But let's say we're dividing by -5. In the math world, now my mind is going like ding, 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 like a fire alarm, like la, 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 divided by a negative, divided by a negative. Quick, change the sign. I swear, I do this in the classroom too, just as weird. I picture like neon lights going like Vegas Strip flashing. Oh, okay. Now, right as soon as I do that, the sign, the arrow moves over. This comes out to be just X. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. So that's that. That is the switcheroo that it does. So just be on the alert for that. Make some kind of little highlighted reminder somewhere. It could help. Whatever it takes, up on the wall, like in a classroom, we'd have it on the wall. And now X is greater than or equal to -7. So let's find -7 first. Greater than is to the right of it. Anything bigger is to the right. And or equal to, so I'll make that bracket facing the shaded part. See, I put the bracket in my mind, I do too. I put it in after. Or like I said before, if you want to stick with the closed circle, I have no problem with that either. Could have it like that. That's okay. So you can always test it too. If it feels like weird and backwards, a number that's greater than -7, let's say X could be 6. That's greater than -7. Try it into my original. -5 times 6 is the original, had it facing that way. -30 is less than or equal to 35. True, that's true. So we could still test it with points. The fact that X could be a lot of things, not just one thing anymore, is a little bit of a kind of a new level of abstraction, really. So it's a new level of abstract. A couple of new things that happen right at the end of this course, right before intermediate algebra, because that's the thing, like you're about to level up to the next math level. So, of course, some new tricks and techniques are going to pop up. Anyone have a question about that one? Let's do a double inequality that also has a negative and a decimal. So, and then we'll do a couple with fractions like I promised. Where is this one? I just saw. Here it is. -2 is less than -0.5 s, which is less than or equal to 0. So here's a double inequality. And we're going to solve that, plus there's a negative and a decimal involved. We can handle it though. So we're going to divide by a negative. Right away, my arrows are going to change direction. The bar beneath still stays. I'm just going to slow down a little bit to be careful. So now S is alone. 0 divided by anything is 0. This is going to turn positive. Negative divided by a negative. And now it's asking how many 1/2s are in 2 wholes. So it's going to be 4, or you could do that on a calculator. And this is not wrong to write it this way. 4 is greater than S, which is greater than or equal to 0. So that's not wrong to write it that way. S is between 0 and 4. But I usually rewrite it if this doesn't mix you up. You don't have to do this. But for my brain to understand it, the 4 had the no bar underneath it, the 0. But see, now I changed the arrows again. So that might be too confusing. I don't know. So let's just look at it this way. S is between 0 and 4. So here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. At 0, the bracket is closed, the or equal to. At 4, it's open. S is every single number that's possible in that shaded area. S is all that business. So that might be easier than rewriting it. It's up to you, but that's correct. We could do another test point. What if I tested it with +2? It looks like +2 is here in the shaded area. I want to have to look at the original inequality and make sure that that's true. -2 is less than -1/2 of 2, which is less than or equal to 0. So let's see, -2 is less than half of 2 is 1, which is less than or equal to 0. Yep, so that's true. That's a little harder to check, but you could always check it with a test point. We can't check, I mean, we could check more than one. We could also check 0, 1, 3, etc. 1.5, but that's enough. You don't even have to do the check. But if it ever feels like, I feel like my arrow's backwards, it just feels that way a lot of the time when we're doing the thing with the negatives. And it feels like we're playing loose with the rules and stuff like that. It doesn't feel great. But so always could do a test point if you want. Okay, let's do a couple with fractions. Let me just put them up here and then none of that negative business now. Let's just focus on some fractions. 3/4 x is less than 6 and 1/5 b is greater than or equal to -2. That can have a negative on it. I'm not going to mess with that. It's just the thing with x that I'm looking. If that has a negative on it, I'm going to have to do that thing that we were just doing. I'm taking these from the book, trying to make sure I cover as many as I can. Oh, here's a nice one. -1 is less than or equal to 1/10 z. And then a double inequality to finish strong with these. Gonna have to go to the review problems to get one more. So try these on your own. I'll pause the recording in just a sec. Oh, yes, here's a really, I'm gonna put it on the next page. 4 x over 4 minus 2 is less than 3x over 8 plus 5. Yeah, that's a good one. That's not a double inequality. That's just a single inequality. So, but it has a lot of action going on for fractions for us. And then one last one that's a double inequality. 5 is greater than x plus 1 over 3, which is greater than 0. There, that's a little bit fractiony. You could have fractions there too on the sides. It should be pretty good. Okay. Here we go. Here. How we did it with equations. We do that same thing now. Or you could say you're dividing both sides by 3/4, that first one. However you want to think about it, either way, you're going to be multiplying both sides by 4/3 and then simplify. So the second one, multiply both sides by 5/1. Third one, multiply both sides by 10/1. And then just be careful with your signs, because remember, you juggling, you have more balls in the air than usual. And if it's a new technique, just give yourself some time. Okay, here goes some solutions. Multiply by 4/3, because that'll cancel. Don't forget to do it over here. X is less than 24 divided by 3. X is less than 8. So that would be on the number line. Here's 8. And we're shading to the left. This one, multiply both sides by 5. V is greater than or equal to -10. So that's going to be, here's 0. Let's say -10 is clear over here. Greater than or equal to, be like that. And this last one, find your Z, find your variable. Don't say Z to your Z. Cancels. So I read that right to left, that one. Z is greater than or equal to -10. For me, that's easier for me to understand. That's kind of funny, because that's the same as that last question had. Greater than or equal to -10. So that's the answer. -10 is less than or equal to Z, or Z is greater than or equal to -10. Those mean the same thing. So we can turn it, as long as the Z has the big part of the arrow pointed at it. That's also the same thing, also true. It's like just saying it backwards. I am taller than my sister. My sister's shorter than me. It's like that, like saying that. Z. Don't Z your Z. Let it shine there. Yep. All right, so this one, number 4, is the worst of the ones I picked. So I'll do that on another page. Let's get this one handled first. Multiply everything by 3/1 first. To get that 3 out from the bottom. So 15 is greater than x plus 1. This canceled, which is greater than 0. Get messy. Subtract 1 from everybody. Whoops. That's -14. So x is between 14 and -1. So if we had -1 here, 14 here, we could do open circles for a change. And that's a bounded interval with open edges, right? So that's that answer. It's a little confusing when they switch backwards and forwards, but 14 is bigger than x. X is bigger than -1. That means x is between those two numbers. So I think that in my head, x is any number between -1 and 14. I just translate it to words. Whatever language you like, translate it. Or to pictures. Any questions about that one, anybody, before we do the delicious looking number 4. Okay, let's do this one very carefully. This was 4x over 4 minus 2 is less than 3x over 8 plus 5. There's a couple ways you could do this one. I recommend, though, the same way we did when solving equations. The least common denominator is 8. So let's just multiply 8 over 1 times every single term to simplify this down. So we've got 2x minus 16 is less than 3x plus 40. Because the 8 canceled here to turn into a 2. Over here, it didn't cancel, so it was negative 16. And that helps. And we can get around the negative problem by taking away 2x from both sides. That's allowed. And then we've got, so I'm making it as easy as it can be, but it could turn out a little hairy, this one. That's a 40. And then subtract 40. So x is greater than negative 56. X, the big side of the arrow is pointing at x. X is greater than negative 56. So if I could reach all the way to negative 56 on the number line, x would be everything to the right of it, not including it. So that's a good, thank you for asking to do fraction ones. Does anyone else have a favorite one or one you want to see before we have a break? Or any other questions from assignments or anything you've been hanging on to since class started when I said I didn't have my tablet yet? You're okay? I know this one's very hairy. We don't put one like this on the final. There might be one in the assignment though, so I wanted to make sure I went over these weird ones with the fractions. Because you really can handle them just like regular equations, and you all did really well with the equation sections, so I wouldn't be too concerned. Okay, well, take 10 minutes and then we'll do the quiz. I'm just going to play the PowerPoint of the quiz during class time. So if you could stay and take it in real time during class, that would be the best. If you can't, you could always pull it up from the website, do it later if anyone has to leave or something. Okay, but I'll just have it so you could even put the answers in the chat today, so you don't even have to worry about uploading anything or stuff like that. As long as you don't chat it to everyone, then it'll be a group quiz. Oh, I muted myself. 10 minutes will take. Okay. Hello, I'm back. Is everybody back? Nice smiley face, Hannah. Thank you. You can hear me okay? Can you hear me? Messing with my microphone, so you never know. Okay, great. Okay, so this is yet another way that I've learned to give quizzes in in the COVID-19 era. So first of all, get out a piece of paper. Don't stress out, because if this gives you any kind of stress, I will also have it available on the Moodle site for you to take at your leisure before tonight, before midnight. But you can, I mean, I know we have at least one person at Sundance, which I think is definitely a priority. Or one person doesn't feel that good today, told me. I just saw that when I was doing the extensions in WebAssign, so I'm sorry to hear that. But so if this stresses you out, you are welcome to log off. Just take it at your own leisure, write it on paper, and send me the image of the answers. There's only 10 questions. Each question is 2 points, and then there's an extra credit question. So you're welcome to just like sayonara duksha ke to me, and off you go if you want to. But if you want to just get it done with, I'll open each slide up. Let's see, 10 minutes, 3 minutes each. That might be a lot. I'll go 3 minutes each maximum. But if everybody does a thumbs up that they're done with that question, then I'll go to the next one. But I'll just wait to get a feedback from everybody so we don't rush anybody. So you could send me the answers in the chat privately, because I'll save the chat. Or you could write it on paper and send that to me, or you can email me the answers. Just I would write them on paper and then email them after. Or you could open an email right now and have it ready. You don't have to show your work. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. You could just do that. Just send the answers. Okay? Anybody have any questions about this weird PowerPoint quiz? And the extra credit question, that just take your time with. You don't have to do that while you're being timed. I mean, in class here, you could just screenshot it or something and then save it for later if you want to work on that. Because that might, that's a little bit tricky, but it's optional. Okay, wait, I have somebody chatted to me. Oh, that they're here. Good. All right. And let me see who's at it. Make sure I know who's here. 3, 6, 7 people are here. It's still great. Okay. Well, here goes. Remember, like, this is like we're in class. It's not a group quiz. So no talking, and try to just send the answers to me directly instead of to everyone. But I wouldn't get mad at you if you did, or if you blurted out an answer because you're so excited. No. But anyway, just try to stay quiet, get a piece of paper. Is everybody ready? Okay, give me a signal if you're not ready and I'll wait. Okay, let's find it. Okay, can everybody see the screen okay? And then we will power through 10 questions, like I said. And then yeah, give me a thumbs up or a signal or something if you're done with a question, so I don't have to make everyone wait if you're faster than 3 minutes. But oh, I better get my timer ready. Here goes the first one. Okay, here's number 2.
Leah, no, leave that in there. No, Arabella. Put it back. Put it away. No.
See, these things happen sometimes. Somebody's got to yell out something. Okay, that was number 2. Here comes number 3. There you go. Okay, I'm going to number 3. No, that was 3. Number 4. Remember, if this is stressing anybody out, you can just log off and take it later. I'll have it posted in the Moodle. Okay, we're going to question 5. I'm gonna make the wait time only 2 minutes because people are finishing faster, which is great, but no rush, remember. Just write it down if you feel rushed. Send it later. Okay, here goes number 6. Maybe. There we go. Okay, number 7 is up now. Okay, I'm going on to number 8. Whoops, hold on. There we go. This one's just a 2-minute or less. No, not very fast. I mean, it's fast. Okay, we're going on to number 9. Okay, the last one will be number 10, and then there's an extra credit question after it. Okay, now I'm gonna put up the extra credit. This is optional. You could just log off if you want to. Well, there is one more slide that says the end and what the homework is, but you don't have to do this one. It's 4 points, or you can write it down and do it later. Okay, so I'll go to the ending page. The homework is, this will be posted on Moodle if you missed any, or if you get any wrong, if I'll email you all your scores. If you got any wrong, you could still redo them by tomorrow, before class tomorrow, if you want to, any of the wrong ones. And then the homework is 3C in WebAssign. And have a good evening. Stay on if you need to talk to me or message or email me like usual. Okay? Nice job. Thanks for trying this new way. New to me. Have a good one. Bye.
Do I just put my answers in chat?
Yep, you can put them in chat or email them to me or text it or screenshot, whatever you want, whatever's easy. I'll
Okay, I'll
save the
text-
chat.
I'll
Okay,
text them to you.
sounds good, Hannah.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah,
All
see
right.
you.
See ya.